Hello everyone, Adrienne here. So it is a beautiful bright day outside, the birds are singing, and I have new absinthe to review. So as I said in my previous video, I did say that I do have a lot of absinthe on the horizon to review because I received something like almost or around like 15 samples from like 2 different people to review, and I'm just like, whoa, this is crazy. So today I will be reviewing one of those samples, and this one was sent by one of my fairly new absinthe friends. His name is Adrian Payne. Yes, Adrian spelled the masculine way. And he is this lovely British gentleman living in France, and he reached out to me and we've been chatting a little bit, you know, talking about absinthe since it's one of our shared passions, obviously. And he asked if I was interested in a couple of samples from his collection, and I'm like, absolutely, of course, like that's even a question, right? And then I still can't get over this. I'm gonna do a little show and tell. So he asked me if I was interested in some absinthe antiques, and I'm like, again, is that even a question? Of course, I would love to have some absinthe antiques in my collection. So not only did he send a few samples for me to partake, but he also sent me, drumroll please, these 3 beautiful things. So this is a saucer from the pre-ban era, this is a glass from the pre-ban era, and this is a spoon from the pre-ban era. Kind of toward the end of the pre-ban era, he is guessing that these are from the end of the 19th century. And you can tell how old these are. You know, you can tell how heavy it is, how well made it is. These are absolutely beautiful. You can see all of the little like flaws and imperfections in this antique torsade glass. That is insane, and I can't even get over like how much heavier it is than my modern reproductions of the torsade glasses that I have in my own collection of absinthe, like pre-ban reproduction glasses. So you guys are probably wondering what the hell this is the saucer for. So I was a little bit kind of thrown off by that when I would see people selling like reproductions of pre-ban absinthe saucers, and I'm just like, it's just a saucer, what the hell? So then in the absinthe documentary, I come to find out that the saucers here operated in the same way that if you go to a sushi bar, like especially I think on the Pacific Northwest, they are particularly popular. They have the sushi that goes on a revolving belt around the entire like establishment, and you kind of just like pick what you want off of the belt, and then you use the saucers that are color coded with the different prices to calculate your bill at the end of the evening. So these saucers in the pre-ban era were used the exact same way, hence why you can see the price right here. So every new glass of absinthe that you were given a new saucer, and then you would calculate your stack of saucers at the end of the evening when you were ready to leave, so that you could tell how much you owed the establishment that you had just been drinking absinthe at. So I absolutely flipped out when I received these. I'm just like, no way. I thought I would never get any absinthe antiques in my collection, you know, because I thought they would be ridiculously expensive and very, very hard to find, but I really lucked out. So again, I'm really thankful and fortunate for the position that I'm in the absinthe community, where I have so many wonderful and generous people that I've now become friends with that, you know, send me this stuff as, you know, an appreciation for what I do here. So to everyone who has sent me, you know, free bottles, free samples, and to Adrian here who sent, you know, these antiques, I seriously cannot thank you enough. I'm just so touched. So because I want to show my thanks and gratitude, I will be using this glass in this video. I won't be using the spoon, however, because this absinthe I will be doing a tasting without sugar, as I always do, but I will be doing a TikTok a little later today featuring the spoon and the glass and the saucer together. And seriously, I cannot get over like how heavy this is. This is ridiculously heavy. It doesn't look like it would be too heavy, and if you've felt a lot of like pre-band reproductions of absinthe spoons, like they're not very heavy. Like, okay, seriously, check this out. I have almost an exact replica of this design here. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that's almost identical. This is so much heavier. I cannot get over how much heavier it is than this one. Not that this one's badly made. It's lovely and it's nice and sturdy and everything, but they just feel so different. They really do. Sorry, I just had to do a little show and tell for my video today because I was really, really happy and really excited to share this with you guys. So that's out of the way. So now on to the absinthe I'm going to be reviewing today. So today we're going to be reviewing Émeraude Verte by Beauvais. And this is made in Switzerland, and it is a green absinthe, as you can probably tell by the name. I will put a picture of the bottle somewhere on screen so you guys can see it. So again, the sample was sent to me by my friend Adrian Payne over in France. Thank you so much for sending this to me. This has been on my list of like absinthes to try for a while because I've heard a lot of really good things about it. So let's go ahead and read a little bit about Émeraude Verte. I will say the name of it is a little bit redundant. Émeraude means emerald, obviously, and then Verte means green, so emerald green. Okay, yeah, whatever. So here's what the absinthe market has to say about this absinthe. This green is the last creation of the former clandestine Willy Beauvais and the one that required him the most endurance. For years, this goldsmith of absinthe, incorrigible perfectionist, accumulates the tests, makes taste, starts again, and refines the color with certain plants, starts again with others. His daughter says he put samples on the kitchen sideboard and he observed the variation in color, taste, and in contact with light and temperature variations. In 2017, it achieves the expected result, a deep green and a robust nectar with an alcohol content of 77. And I'm totally gonna skip that part because it doesn't matter. He called it my jewel, and it is true that it is beautiful and good with powerful vegetable flavors and its lovely bitterness enhanced by the freshness of the menthol, which is the flavoring component in anise. So I'm excited about that. A final masterstroke from one of the most legendary distillers in the valley who died the following year, bequeathing his know-how to his daughter Françoise. So I'm really excited to try this one. Without further ado, I'm just going to reposition the camera so that we can get to observing the appearance and the louche, and then get on with the other points of evaluating this absinthe. Alright guys, so now we're at the point where we do our pour and the louche part of our review. I'm really excited about this, and I'm sorry for all the outside noise that you hear. I kind of loved the sound of the birds singing outside today, and the ravens and the seagulls were being particularly vocal today, so I kind of wanted to capture that a little bit. So sorry about the street noise, but I will not apologize for the bird noise. I love bird noise. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a pour of Émeraude Verte. Oh boy, he really sealed this nice and tight. That's good. Don't want this gorgeousness escaping. So, color right off the bat, absolutely gorgeous. Wow, that is really something. So, actually, let me get my stupid pillow out of the way. Sorry about that, guys. So, color, absolutely gorgeous. It is such a pretty kind of deep, almost like a lime green and an olive green together. So for appearance, it's also crystal clear, beautiful, really rich, deep color. Absolutely love it. So for appearance, I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 stars. Color's gorgeous. I love it. And I can't wait to taste it. I really can't. All right. So today I'm going to use my Verso Bruyere, and I think this is just big enough. Yes, it is. Yay. So I'm going to do a very slow, very controlled pour. Adrian basically advised me that I needed very little water with this in order to get a nice complete louche. So I'm going to do this very slowly and very, very controlled. I'm super, super excited. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and start with the louche. Oh man, that fragrance is just blossoming already. That is just lovely. So the louche is gorgeous, no denying that. My Bohea is not acting as I typically would prefer it to act because it is dripping instead of streaming very gently into the glass. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe the ice is kind of being a little fucky. But yeah, I'm being very careful about not adding too much water to this. I think it's almost perfect for the pour of water here. I'm just so excited and happy to be using a pre-ban glass that was used during the pre-ban era. That is insane and just plain cool to me. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call that good because he said to be careful about how much or how little water I use. Okay, so for louche, it's beautiful. It still retains that green hue. Absolutely love it. It's so pretty. Honestly, I would mistake this for a jade if I didn't know what brand this was. It smells really, really lovely, but I'm just a little bit too far away for the moment, but I will get really close and snuggly with it in just a minute. So for louche, I'm going to go ahead and give it 4.5 stars. It's gorgeous. I love it. And I have a suspicion that this is going to be a fantastic absinthe. All right, so now comes the point where I will reposition the camera one more time so that we can get a load of the fragrance and the flavor and the mouthfeel and give our final thoughts. Alright guys, so we have our glass of Émeraude Verte. So as you can see, beautiful louche. You know, it's really thick, opalescent, complex, really lovely. I'm really, really excited about this one so far. And, you know, just to do the light test here again, look at that. You cannot, there's no light penetrating this, and it's beautiful. So louche is amazing. That's really, really promising. So now let's get a load of the aroma and then we can move on to the flavor, which is my favorite part, and then the mouthfeel as well. So let's get a good whiff of this. Oh, that's a little different. First, you kind of get hit with the green anise, which obviously I don't have a problem with because I love green anise. It is absolutely lovely, and I really like it when absinthes are prominent with the green anise because that's close to tradition. And it kind of rounds out with a little bit of nuttiness. It's really interesting. kind of sagey, but also nutty at the same time. That's really, really interesting. It must have to do with the wormwood content in here, which I suspect is probably a little high. But, that's just really, really lovely. Really close to traditional, really flavorful and rich. Getting a lot of fennel in there too. So this one in particular is really forward on the fennel and the anise, and just a little bit of nuttiness and kind of saginess from the wormwood, if that makes sense. Precious? Was that you, honey? My door just creaked open. I think Precious wanted to get in. Precious! Come here, honey. Okay, she's fine. I'll leave her alone. So, aroma, I'm going to go ahead and give it about 4 stars because it is correct. The Holy Trinity is very well represented here. I suspect there's probably a couple of other secondary flavorings floating around in here as well, which obviously I don't mind, because sometimes what can make or break an absinthe are the secondary flavorings. I think that those can really make an absinthe stand out, make it really unique, really interesting, if that makes sense. So yeah, 4 stars for aroma. All right, so let's go ahead and give this a taste. I'm really excited. So as always, guys, santé, and please drink responsibly. Whoa. That's really interesting. It kind of tastes more like rosemary when you go in for a sip, but I'm not mad about that. I'm actually really pleasantly surprised. Like, there is a really nice balance between the wormwood and the anise in there. Oh god, I'm drooling. That's really good. So there is definitely a little bit of a rosemary, sagey, nutty sort of flavor accompanying this. And I'm guessing that it is because they did use a lot of wormwood in this recipe. Which, again, not necessarily a bad thing, but the anise really balances it out. So I feel like they use the anise to kind of balance out the flavor of the wormwood in here, because that is really nice and forward. So, oh god, that just finishes really nicely too. But again, taking into consideration this is 77% alcohol, and I really did not add very much water to this at all, because it's a perfect pour with a ratio of 1 to 2 or maybe 3. So that's lovely, and it's I'm gonna be honest, it's a really surreal experience drinking absinthe from a pre-ban glass. Oh, so exciting. Okay, gonna go in for another sip now. I probably wouldn't recommend this for a beginner, and I think that's just because it is a little too forward on the anise, and a beginner who is a little off-put by anise may not like it. However, I do feel like this was one that was designed for experts and seasoned absinthe drinkers that have been around the block a few times, or been around the track a few times, I guess. However it is. The aroma is a little bit deceiving because it makes you think that it's going to be really anise forward, but it really isn't. So, but again, not necessarily a bad thing. It's definitely prominent on the wormwood, really lovely, kind of nutty, earthy, still sweet, which is great. They're kind of relying on the green anise and the fennel for sweetness instead of secondary flavorings. I'm really not getting much of any kind of secondary, like, herbs to color this one, which is really interesting. Yeah, for flavor, I think I'm going to give it... I'm going to think here. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars for flavor because it's definitely correct, definitely following traditional standards, aside from being a little bit more forward on the wormwood, which again, I do not mind. But there's nothing really standing out to me terribly, but it is really, really good. You know, don't get me wrong, it's delicious, but there's nothing like really unique other than it being very, very well done. For mouthfeel, I'm going to give it 4 stars as well. It's, I think, a little bit smoother would have been lovely. And what's scary about this one is that even though it is 77% alcohol, You don't taste it. Even after how little water I put in there, you really are not feeling much of anything in terms of burn for the alcohol. But maybe that could just be because I'm kind of seasoned with absinthe drinking and I may not be able to tell. But it's really smooth, goes down really easily, coats the inside of the mouth really nicely, but not as nicely as, like, say, you know, a jade or maybe even like Vite Opal or Con Opal. But that's just me. Yeah, as I kind of swish it around in my mouth a little bit, it just really hits me with that kind of rosemary-like flavor. I'm not saying it's rosemary, I'm just saying it's rosemary-like. That's the best thing that I can compare it to. And then it follows up with the anise and the fennel, and then it kind of gives you a tiny bit of bite on the way down. So overall rating for this, it's really, really good. Definitely not necessarily unique other than the higher alcohol content, but very well done, very much following traditional standards, and that makes me happy. So for the appearance, I gave it 4.5 stars. For the louche, I gave it 4.5 stars as well. And for aroma, I gave it 4 stars. For taste, I gave it 4 stars. And for mouthfeel, I gave it 4 stars as well. So overall, wonderful, wonderful absinthe to go out and try if you do happen to get your paws on it. I do recommend it. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you hit that bell for notifications for more videos on absinthe and Gothic literature and goth music and other miscellaneous things I like to have fun with. And make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thank you so much to my patrons for your support every single month. I really, really appreciate it. And to everyone, you're amazing. I love you, and I will see you guys later. Bye!